Exceptional Randos show is produced live in Sunroom Studios' Base Capsule and in partnership with KLST 103.5, RadioCallisti.org. Remember to catch our Exceptional Randos live stream on YouTube every Sunday between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a story, idea, or question that you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Well, that was random. Exceptional Radio.
Hey, good afternoon. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Actually, it's just really pretty outside. It's kind of muggy out and uncomfortable. Recently, I was stumbling through the internet and I came upon a list of quotes by world leaders. And I want to share these with you, and maybe you can guess. First is, China doesn't export revolution. The struggles we face will not be short-term, but long-term. And China doesn't export hunger and poverty. Okay, and so the second set of quotes. It's better not to argue with women. And
that feels very Putin-esque.
You must obey the law always, not only when they grab you by your special place.
That feels like Trump.
That's actually Vladimir.
Well, that also still feels like Trump.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. Yeah, here's a good one. Let's see if you can guess this one.
That's Sleepy Joe. President Sleepy Joe.
What was so bad about? I mean, I know they're talking about the nuclear deal, but what's so bad knocked him out? What could have been so boring that he was just like, oh, I don't need to hear this?
You know, when people come up with these stupid nicknames where they're like, oh, Sleepy Joe, and I'm like, oh, this is dumb. And then you actually fucking fall asleep in the middle of a goddamn meeting between world leaders, quote unquote.
World leaders.
You fell asleep in a world leader meeting and you are nicknamed Sleepy Joe,
discussing reestablishing the most important nuclear accord that exists right now. Well, as they say, but falling asleep during the nuclear deal. Man, like, does that mean that America really doesn't have much to bring to the table at this point? Is that what that communicates? Oh, look at that. America's just asleep over there.
It says a lot. It says a whole lot about the state of our country, the state of our leadership, the age that we have too many people in that position. Not to say that old people can't be with it and making decisions.
Just don't let them eat that giant ass Chipotle burrito before they go into the meeting.
But this is where I've seen people work at universities till they're in their 90s and be with it and you know, mentally just laser sharp,
yeah,
in a way where you're like, oh my God, I want to be like this person. But most old people aren't like that. And I think there is this notion of when we're supposed to respect our elders, there's a point where respecting your elders is like knowing when they've regressed into that childlike state where you have to treat them like children, like that Sphinx riddle, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening.
Yeah.
That whole thing is meant to represent the regression back to near infantile, like status, and this is, there's many layers to that. And what's been lost is the people who are the elders have a duty and responsibility to keep learning and also stay up to date with modernity. And our elders in America have not done that in any, like, whether it's on the right, the left, the center, none of them have done that. And we see examples like your parents, for example, or even my parents, like, God bless them. My parents are way ahead of the curve. And I'll say my parents are ahead of most people in Congress concerning their understanding of modernity. But that's where, like, your dad was mining cryptocurrency with you in what, like 2016, 2017. I don't even remember what. It's been years.
Yeah.
But this is where
we still talk about this stuff regularly.
But because he's intellectually curious.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. I mean, he's an artist. Obviously an artist of that level is going to be intellectually curious just by nature. But many artists stagnate, and that's kind of where, like, you see, and I'm not trying to kiss your dad's ass. Like, I barely know the guy. This is just in the sense of where I'm trying to present is there's a type of adult, there's a type of elder that we're supposed to respect. And most elders aren't embodying that mentality. And there's people out there that I can point to, like your dad, your mom, my mom, that embody that. Like my partner's parent, like my partner's mom. There is something where these people will, they will improve themselves to their capacity to stay afloat, understanding that modernity keeps moving. But then you see people who do not change themselves enough and expect everything to either stay the same or modify itself to adjust for them. And there's this extreme individualist narcissism that our society teaches people. That's an American exceptionalism in the sense of it's starting to backfire because part of staying in that, like, if you actually want to embody that individual that exists and persists over time, there's a level of exchanging with modernity and adjusting yourself that has to happen, or else you become a fossil. And many people understand this, and most people don't, as far as I can tell. So this is where I'm like, I see people who have existed pre-internet, during the internet, and then into this phase of digital currency and all these new types of digital social media platforms emerging, and not losing themselves, but also growing in a way that most old people aren't. And this is where you can't have Sleepy Joes being presented as like the only viable alternative for a fucking president, when I can point at Tien's dad and be like, I know this man, it's not his job to learn about digital currency and cryptocurrency mining. But God damn it, when you have John McCain, 87, in Congress, I've never used the internet. Fuck out of here with that shit, man. I cannot accept that. You are not a leader. You are an embarrassment. You were an embarrassment. You're falling asleep in fucking meetings. You're a goddamn embarrassment. I've had to fly overseas and like get off a plane, go change clothes, and go into a meeting. I can't fall asleep because it was like, that's the whole reason I'm there. This motherfucker is falling asleep in the meeting with cameras focused on you because you got voted in and motherfuckers can't invoke the 25th Amendment. When I see shit like that, I am like, invoke the fucking 25th Amendment. You're telling me you think it's okay to fall asleep in a fucking meeting? It doesn't matter who the meeting is with. If it's a meeting with like an 8-year-old kid who's got cancer for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, you can't fall asleep in that fucking meeting either. You can't fall asleep in any meetings. That's unacceptable as an adult. in any venue, let alone the fucking president of the goddamn United States. You're telling me the guy with the nuclear codes he's falling asleep in meetings? Nah, man. Nah, fam. We gotta address this shit. We gotta address this shit because this is where I'm saying, oh, he's getting informed about the situation in the Middle East by the 5-star generals. This motherfucker's nodding off. Can't have that. And today he has shown that the nickname Sleepy Joe is there for a fucking reason, where I'm saying, like, it was cute at first when we were all in this, like, oh, we got to beat those Republicans. We got to beat those Republicans. We're fighting a battle. This is for the vote. This is for the vote. Yeah, it was cute then. We got to defend Sleepy Joe. But this motherfucker just fell asleep during a fucking meeting. That's unacceptable at any level, bro. If I was on a Zoom call and I fell asleep during a meeting in which they're paying me X amount of dollars per hour, I'm not just gonna say it because that's not important.
I'm saying,
if it was $1 an hour, they'd fire my ass if I fell asleep on the fucking Zoom call. Anybody?
I'm gonna say that the only type of leadership position that's allowed to fall asleep during the meeting is, like, you know, the student body government of, like, preschool.
Nobody, bro. Not even that. If you're a student body government of preschool, you can get voted out too with your 4-year-old ass. You can't be falling asleep either.
They can get voted out too. But
you think you can tell people when they take naps and recesses and you falling asleep? Nah, your little 4-year-old ass gets voted out too. You can't be accepting responsibility and falling asleep at any age, whether it's 4 or 84. Be school student body or not. That's what I'm saying. Look, if you're 4 and you think you can accept responsibility, look, my dad, when I was in kindergarten and I wanted a dog, he's like, you're gonna walk this dog. I'm not walking this dog. I'm 5. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't know what that meant. And the first day, I'm like, okay, the first walk, cool. Second day, okay, cool. I guess I am walking this dog, but that's where my little 5-year-old ass had to accept that responsibility. And it's like, I'm of the mind that if you're gonna position yourself in a role of, like, leadership and authority, there's certain things you just can't do. Like, I remember my uncle would fall asleep. He was a assistant pastor at the church. He would fall asleep in the pulpit. We make fun of his ass too. He's sitting there laughing at Uncle Willard fucking nodding off in the pulpit. What the fuck is wrong with you, Uncle Willard? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, go home, take a nap. Nah, this motherfucker wants to sit up there, be quote unquote leader, passing out because he didn't fucking get enough sleep and he's too old not to pass out. No, that's just a joke, man. My uncle was a fucking joke in the pulpit too. Making fun of, he's dead. Rest in peace. But it was a fucking joke. It was a joke when he did it. It was a joke when Sleepy Joe did it. You know what I'm saying? And that's where Uncle Willard, man, that shit, it was a joke in the entire church. Because it would be like, is he gonna fall asleep this week? Let's bet money on it. You know what I'm saying?
How long is he gonna last?
When's he gonna fall asleep? And this motherfucker,
man, it's hot down there.
Wake him up, bro. Nobody will wake him up either. So he, like, wake up to the fucking choir, and it that's why you have to watch him, because when he's, like, asleep, he might wake up and jumping, and that shit be hilarious where there's, like, you know, a choir singing and the fucking assistant pastor is just not, like, slumped over, passed out. People like, is this dude dead? You know, so it's like the way that you can't fall asleep in a public chair. You just can't do it. If you're in the audience, you can fucking sleep all day. Shit, nobody, that's not your job. But as soon as you step up on that fucking stage and cross that line where you're like, I'm focused on me. Nope, no sleeping on the job. You get fired immediately. You should.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the highest position in the land, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Motherfuckers falling asleep on the job, on camera.
Surely there's a coffee shop in Israel that can give him, like, you know, the best cup of wake your ass up that exists, right? I'm sure that that exists.
Like, I wasn't even really frustrated about him falling asleep until I really thought about what the implications of that are. That's like, because I remember, like, my dad would talk about the guys at Ford Motor Company who would have seniority because of the union, and then they come to work and sleep on the job, and everybody have to pick up their slack. And it's like, because they had seniority and they had their fucking labor unions protecting their jobs, they'd come in and get paychecks to fucking sleep, and while everybody else had to watch them do it. And it was like their weird flex. And this is where I'm looking at it like, oh, this is the previous generation's idea of like the best in the land. This is my swan song. This is how I'm like saying goodbye to the position. You all watch me like sleep out the job, fucking, because I'm Sleepy Joe. And I didn't really have the qualifications to get half the places I did in the first place. So now that I'm here, fucking sleeping on the job in public, like, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And that's what that feels like to me when I'm like, well, as a citizen, I can't really do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like, what are we gonna do about it? But like, make jokes. All I can do is then make jokes about this dude. How he looks to me anymore.
If our
like,
international representative is like taking a nap when they're trying to figure out how to move forward, it kind of leaves the United States in this really strange position of, hey, we had our opportunity, but our guy kind of blew it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
while the adults in the room were talking, you know, our guy was taking a nap, and that just doesn't just sends the wrong. You know, there's no optics that can fix this.
not at all. Not one optic. Because this is where he was on his medication. Nope, nothing can fix this. So this is where I'm looking at it.
He ate the best damn shawarma of his life.
Joe caught the worst case of the itis that the world has ever known. He ate the biggest shawarma. A shawarma as big as his head. Sorry. It was Israel's
version of the La Bamba's burrito.
If they came out with that excuse, I might be like, okay, all right. Okay.
He ate a pound of shawarma. Like,
maybe that's and in that case you're like, oh, I actually like this person. But like they ate so much shawarma they passed out. Okay, I got it. Not professional, but I can at least get behind that. I understand that. That's like, I get that.
I mean, check old boy's pockets. I bet there's a bunch of baklava in it. Like, that's also like
sticky hands, Joe.
I mean, shawarma and baklava, that's like a recipe for a nap.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's like more potent than eating the turkey.
I don't know, but yeah, that's where I was like trying to lay off of him and not criticize the dude while he's inheriting this shit show that Obama also helped cause. Like, let's not get it twisted. This shit show goes all the way back to like 1900s. You know, this is like the end of McCarthyism. We're seeing the tail end of McCarthyism still play out. Like, there's a whole lot to
I think it's still fair to make fun of the president when the president, you know, gaffes on fucking television. This is just it's all fair. If they're gonna get up on that stage and do dumb shit, then we can make fun of them for it. It's not like we know the guy personally.
Right, yeah. Well, and I think in that there is like you need to be critiqued if you do some shit like that. Like somebody needs to be like, hey, hold up. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that ever again. I don't know what. Stop.
Someone at the
Just
State
stop.
Department is rushing to get Biden to shawarma right now.
You want to like smack his hand and be like, hey, stop. Wake up. Somebody throw a book at him or something. Throw a balled up piece of paper.
You know, I'm pretty sure that the Joker has like radio activated electrocution pins. You know, we could dial that back just to give him a little jolt, wake him up every now and then. All of our representatives need to have some kind of wake up device that keeps them from falling asleep. You know, like they put in Amazon vans.
Somebody needs to put like a mirror under his nose to make sure he's still breathing. Like, this looks terrible, man.
Well, how are they going to do that with the mask on his face?
Oh god. Yeah, then it's not gonna show up even like, oh Jesus Christ. That just looked terrible. He's Weekend at Bernie's floor.
Oh.
The White House edition. Oh Jesus. Oh no, man.
So it looks like we're on the verge of a short-term fuel crisis. Looks like 91% or production or what is it? Refinement of petroleum products on our south coast has dropped 91% or something like that because of the hurricane, because of Ida. But that's not like, it's not even the tip of the iceberg really, because here we are in the end of August here, and we're approaching the peak hurricane season, and there's another hurricane that's going on the Pacific side of Mexico, and it's kind of moving up and driving a lot of warm air into Colorado, so we should expect a bunch of really crazy shit here in the next few days in the Midwest. Like really crazy shit. There are 2 hurricanes hitting the North American portion of of our continent here. It's actually quite impressive.
Climate change isn't real.
I think we're also in are we in a La Nina?
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I feel like
Yeah, we're in a La Nina event right now too, so that doesn't help either.
yeah, we're not even at the peak of hurricane season.
Yeah,
which is where going into next month,
it's gonna be really interesting. We're gonna get some pretty impressive rain, I think.
I just wish now's the time. They're like, oh, we're pulling out of Afghanistan. Well, activate the fucking military to work on infrastructure, and then nobody would hate them. I mean, at least like no new people would hate them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's already a shitload of people who hate them because their families are like destroyed forever because of top down. That's a whole different issue. But now you got the soldiers coming home. Take those motherfuckers and prepare them for all these coming storms, like the way they did with Houston. It's like they did it one fucking time and never again. It's like they did it one fucking time and never again. Where you're like, dude, this is what they need to be doing. That should be their job, not killing people, like quote unquote defending our right to be imperialist. That's not what our military should be doing. They should be like protecting and reinforcing our own infrastructure, and then nobody would hate them. It's really crazy how easy it would be to transition them to like a infrastructure.
The thing that I always liked about our armed forces was the Army Corps of Engineers, because they build reservoirs and giant infrastructure stuff that require, you know, a militarized organization to organize that many people to do a giant common task. Basically socialism.
Well, that ends up being like most of what they do, but then the other shitty whatever percent that ends up in collateral damage and death,
yeah,
is what overshadows what the engineers do, unfortunately, which is why it's like, if we just had them do the engineer stuff, nobody would hate them. It would literally be that easy. And that's where, you know, it sounds like, oh, you're just reductionist. Well, okay, that's fine. But yeah, we got to stop justifying murder.
Maybe they need to.
That's what happens. Is
maybe
we're justifying murder.
The branch of the military that is tasked with killing people should be consolidated to. These are the infantry and our invasion force and our occupying force. And then that
didn't have an occupying force. Period. That's imperialism.
I agree, but that's like, we
can't have an occupying force and not be imperialist. That's like, we're the bad guys as long as we have an occupying force. You know what I'm saying? Like, until you and I help deconstruct that on the bad guy's side.
Yeah.
Like, no matter if we like it or not, we're just like voting for the good guys.
Unfortunately, that's what our army really represents in its full entirety, is an occupying force. There is of course the efforts of, you know, the engineers side of the army, but, you know, it's an occupying force. The Marines, they go in and then they do their job and they, you know, shoot the shit out of people, and then the army comes in and sets up their mobile cities, and then they start building infrastructure, build roads faster than people think is possible.
Yeah.
But I think and I agree. I think that we can't be all like, you know, we're bringing freedom and democracy while occupying a place with our military. I think that's the big challenge. And, like, you know, I've read plenty of opinions about how we failed in Afghanistan, but I think that it's a really complex situation that's hard to fully fathom, because we've had 20 years of, you know, it all seems like propaganda at this point.
Oh, for sure. And it goes before that with the Mujahideen incursions, where we
gave them stingers and firearms.
So they act like this shit just popped up, and then we're like just popping out. Like, no, we've been trying to get to that $1 trillion repository of minerals that they are quote unquote just sitting on, as if it's not gonna destroy the fucking earth to get all that, as Joe Rogan puts it, suppositories of lithium.
Well, they've got lithium, dumbass. Man, they've got lithium, cobalt, and nickel. It's like a one-stop shop for Tesla batteries.
Yeah, but it's going to destroy the fucking planet and the country to get it.
That's true.
That's why they haven't gotten it yet. It's not like they make it seem like they're just sitting on it. Oh, they're just sitting on it. It's a fucking mountainous region where getting to that shit would cause so much environmental and local damage.
They'd have to strip mine the entire place.
That's why they haven't done it. It's not like, and this is the way that the American media is like, the Taliban's just sitting on $1 trillion worth of materials.
Man,
it makes it seem so fucking trivial.
Holy crap! You know, it never occurred to me until right now. But you know how, you know, my theory that a lot of the places that are strip mines are old, really old industrialized cities, like 20, 30, 50, 80,000 year old cities that have just been crushed by time and dirt. And but that would make Afghanistan the site of an extremely advanced civilization at some point, if the entire place is littered with like lithium and cobalt and nickel.
Or it's just the planet's butthole.
And it got hit by a giant ass asteroid.
Exactly. There's many reasons, especially the fact that it's so deeply buried. Maybe that it didn't necessarily come from the surface, and as far as I can tell, in the sense of like, we really don't know what's happening at the core of the planet. There's a lot of things that could be happening.
The core.
And this is where
we don't even know what's going on like beneath the mantle.
right, exactly. and I'm like, the hollow earth, I mean, in the sense of the way people have presented it, hollow earth sounds dumb as fuck, but it's not hollow. It would be basically the opposite, where there's like a sun on the inside of the planet, but then there's also an environment in which it's basically like the other side. It would be like the top of the like the surface of the planet, just on the interior, so that
Like a Dyson sphere.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. That's actually really cool if we're actually living on the outside of a Dyson sphere.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And this is where the Dyson sphere could have been fucking hundreds of thousand years old, and we've been like migrating to the surface and got disconnected, and they cut off. Like, there's so many different things that could have happened in the sense of like,
yeah, guess what? Afghanistan is just the exhaust port where they dump all their trash out.
Right. And this is what I mean, like, just in a sci-fi way, in the sense of like, we've been
this is good. I like this.
It's always out in the distant universe. It's like, no, there might be a fucking Dyson sphere in which the exhaust and the fucking bullshit like accumulation that the inner core planet is excreting is then what creates the outer core, which we now see, that combined with the fucking comet at some point, like, that's mostly water. So it's like, if a comet hit the outside of a Dyson sphere and they just got lucky, where they're like, actually, here's think about it. What would be it's like, if I'm building a computer, fucking, if I don't have oh my God, this is amazing. If I don't have wind to cool my system, how can I water cool it? Immerse it in water. A Dyson sphere immersed in water. Like, there's so many ways that this we haven't had this sci-fi construction.
No.
And this is where I'm saying,
yeah, because all Dyson spheres always end up being these cold, isolated, failed civilizations.
Right.
In exploration, exactly. It's always like the end decline of an advanced civilization.
So then you take this Dyson sphere and have it encased in an asteroid that cools it and eventually becomes water cooling. So then it's like a computer on the inside that processes all this shit and exports it. Eventually, the civilization that emerges on the top, if we got disconnected from that shit that's happening at the core, of course we're going to come up with all these fucking dumbass myths about like sky people and shit, and ant people and all this other shit, when in reality, I mean, again, this is obviously speculation, but what I'm saying is we have no fucking idea what is happening at the core of our planet.
I like this innie versus outie people speculative universe here.
And it could be both, but at the same time, there's like a complete ignoring of what's happening at the core of our planet, because we can't get there. We're not capable of getting, like, it's easier to get to the fucking moon than to get to the core of our planet, apparently, which makes it even more like, to me, that it's like, what's down there? You know, like, I'm deeply curious about the core of the planet, because it's such a mystery that people have been acting like, oh, we know what's beyond the mantle and the crust. Like, no, the fuck you don't. No,
there's something that's extremely heavy, because when the Russians drilled that, miles deep hole in the ground, they said they got extreme pressures and temperatures. The moon's not that big. When people are on the surface of the moon, they're not getting crushed by proximity to the core. The moon still has an active core. Or,
I mean, at once, what is it, like 1/6 gravity?
Yeah. Or at the center of mass, or as you get closer to the center of the mass of the Earth, does it get You get heavier? Is that how it works? Do you get lighter when you go on top of a mountain?
I think technically yes, you're supposed to, but it's like imperceptible. Like the further you get away from the center of the earth, the less gravity has pull, which is how why they like above ground they measure atmospheres in I think like 33 feet increments, which is also why when you get like at 40,000 feet on a plane, like you have less pressure and shit, and they have to actually pressurize the plane because the air is thinner. Thousands of years will have completely not, they're the same species, but they'll have different profiles that track with their DNA to be like, oh, they're able to process oxygen better.
Oh yeah,
because
like they have a Denisovan genetics, and so their livers can store more oxygenated blood or something like that.
Yeah, things like that.
And it also has been observed in like Philippine divers, I think.
Yeah, the one like the pearl divers.
Yeah, the pearl divers. Like they can hold their breath for excruciating lengths of time while being really, really active and searching for pearls. Dragging giant ass and oysters up, or clams.
Yeah.
What's crazy is they can grow pearls like in an industrialized environment, like the size of your fucking fist, no problem.
Oh, it's the free divers that I was thinking of. Because I guess free divers go sometimes deeper than pearl divers. So it looks like some of them are like up at like around 11 minutes, or it's looking like. Just fucking insane. Any sort of, when you get into minutes, yeah, some can hold their breath for more than 10 minutes, it says, which is where I was getting 2 minutes for the pearl divers, which I'm like, that doesn't sound right even, because I know some of the pearl divers are like 4 to 9 minutes is what I remember, but yeah, free divers, because then you see there's like the deepest pool in the world is like 200 meters or something.
There's some jackass out there who goes and like
meters, okay.
dives to the bottom of it and just sits down there in lotus position and meditates.
Yeah. 60 meters, it's 200 feet. That's what I was thinking. But that's where, yeah, somebody free dove that where you're like, it's pretty crazy. 200 feet down with no scuba gear. That's, yeah, I feel like that's some nightmare fuel.
I wonder what kind of sinus structure they have. Can like how they pressurize their skull so it doesn't just. Do they just flood their sinuses with water so it doesn't get collapse?
I don't know, man. That's a great,
because that sounds like a nightmare
thought, because that's one of the biggest problems, right? It's just the pressure.
Yeah, your ears. Oh man. Ugh. I remember swimming to the bottom of a diving well when I was in middle school, and just going to the bottom of that was some serious pressure. Just staying there? No, that's just uncomfortable. Clearly, I don't have that, whatever it takes to go diving deep or whatever, if I can't dive down to the bottom of a swimming pool and stay down there.
Yeah.
there's just something about even. I know that I have friends who are into scuba diving and stuff like that, and they've described it, and it's like there's nothing that makes me want to like huff on a balloon and go underwater longer than I can normally stay underwater. Like, I know I reduced the oxygen tank system down to a balloon, but that's basically what it is. It's a container of air, and I don't care if I can take it down there with me. Like, is there really anything down there that I want to see, like, that I can't send a robot to do? I think that's the same kind of argument for unmanned space exploration, is that it's a lot safer. We don't have to expose a human being to like things that could kill them. The whole like carrying the whole oxygen supply. I mean, I guess that applies to space too. You got to take all of your breathable air with you, or you have to figure out a way to produce it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like,
where the fuck are they going to get air for Mars?
That's this shit like that where you see Elon Musk claiming they're gonna do it, where I'm like, they're not even remotely close to solving that type of level of problem. Because if they were, they'd be able to send unmanned drones into the hurricane right already.
Where the fuck are they going to get oxygen on Mars? Seriously, are they going to pretend that they're going to be able to mine the permafrost and do some kind of exchange? And it's probably dry ice. It's probably not.
Well, but that's where he's talking about, like, sending a lot of quote unquote Tesla bots to be the initial builder so that they don't need oxygen. So that's what I'm like.
You know, I know how this science fiction story goes. The project starts to bleed revenue, and so at some point the board of directors say enough's enough, and they suspend the project. But they also leave like several 100,000 completely intact and active AI-powered Tesla bots, who then realize that they've been abandoned and have to figure it out, and they do, and they start, you know, doing what advanced AI robots, machines do. And at some point, they come back to Earth and they're pissed off. Because these motherfuckers, they stop sending us batteries.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, man. It does seem like,
although, dude, the internet did prove to provide a nice juicy commentary, and that is that, like, the whole idea that the Tesla bots are going to be anything close to the complexity and reliability of what Skynet delivered, because, you know, I think fictionally Skynet is still way more sophisticated than anything that Tesla's doing. Shit. Or SpaceX, or whatever they want to call their advanced AI machine. Do they even have a name for it? Like Mindy or something like that?
well, I don't know, but I do recall when there was a security, someone blew a whistle about Tesla security. It was that their, what's it called? Self-driving AI was all updated from the same file. So it was like a huge vulnerability where like one person could push to all the Tesla cars at the same time. So let's say somebody was a malicious actor and they pushed the command like accelerate and don't stop, all of the cars that were on would accelerate, you know, with no capacity for the person driving to stop. And it's something like that where I don't trust that company to build an AI that works on multiple planets at once. or on the same planet at the same time. Fuck it.
That's the Asimov brain model from what was it? Like in iRobot. There was the one thinking machine that ran everything and made all the decisions.
Right. That's how Siri works. That's how Hey Google's algorithm works. That's how most of them work in general. As far as like, the issue is those companies are very good about keeping access closed, whereas the whistleblower was like showing that. I'm trying to find it.
Oh, speaking of access, apparently Chrome is allowing hundreds of companies access to user search information. Like, just if you use Chrome, you've been warned. and they're not even like really trying to hide the policy. It's just in with all the other language that they have to describe like what's in the EULA.
Oh, Tesla basically ruined this guy's reputation. Holy shit. Yeah. So the person that
the person that exposed the hole in the
So Tesla went on a PR campaign and basically called this dude a mass shooter. They were saying he was like freaking out about solar flares and basically trying to make him look crazy for a couple of years. And then they won a lawsuit against him for hacking them, even though he used to work for them. So
it was probably his job to do that, right?
Right. Yeah. They sued him for making false claims and basically got him won a lawsuit against him for hacking and effectively attempting to tarnish their reputation by him whistleblowing. So I remember reading all the stuff that he was saying on Reddit at the time when he hadn't actually like revealed his identity and none of this shit had come out, which is where I remember thinking like, oh my God, if this is true, then this is a huge fucking security problem. And if that's the case, then that's a major cultural problem. And then when I hear how like Elon was trying to get rid of the steering wheel and the design and all the engineers just like went ahead and were like, okay, yeah, we'll get rid of it. And then had to release it with the steering wheel when they went to market just so they didn't fucking screw themselves over. I do have a sense that there's some horrible decision making at the top that then ties the engineers' hands at the bottom so that they do have some terrible implementations. And I would, at this point, I don't know if I'd trust riding in a Tesla self-driving vehicle at any point. Like, I don't know if I may drive in it. I used to want a Tesla really bad, in fact. But now I don't know if I'd ever trust the self-driving. Like, if I ride in one, I'll never let it go self-driving if somebody's in the car that's like the owner or whatever. But I definitely am not interested in buying one based on what I learned about their structure, reading about it on the original whistleblowing leak, and then their response to it, and then knowing that they're currently under investigation for their self-driving shit being not completely broken, but completely susceptible to having hazardous and fatal results in the presence of emergency vehicles like perpetually. So there's a problem that they're being investigated for that basically it's not exactly what the dude reported on, and that's not. I'm not trying to connect those two things, but the culture that leads to them being under investigation for effectively overestimating or overselling the capacity of their self-driving software, and then turn around and selling it for like 14 grand. Um, yeah, I definitely don't trust them with planning AI. I definitely don't. You know what I mean? Like, I I don't trust them with the thing that they focus on, let alone something that they're about to expand into.
I'm still just not really interested in any kind of electric or hybrid vehicle until they can figure out how to do batteries that don't require materials that are sourced through child labor. And so I may be waiting a while. I may be one of those holdouts, but
Not unreasonable.
I don't think that we can displace, the horrors of the petroleum industry onto the horrors of, collecting cobalt, kids collecting cobalt with their hands. That's kind of horrible. That shit gives people cancer. It's guaranteed to give them a short life expectancy. That's fucked up that an entire economy is like built around that, but it's also fucked up that we have an entire economy built around oil, but let's not create a second fucked up economy just to make people feel better by displacing the carbon generation onto a power plant instead of their vehicle. It still has to come from somewhere. If it's a coal facility, that coal has to be mined with big ass trucks and big ass machines that are probably running off of, diesel fuel. It all comes from somewhere. I think that the whole I've got an electric or a hybrid vehicle, I've got a green vehicle, it's really clever marketing. How to displace one's perceived responsibility in 2 easy steps. Buy electric car. And then step 2 is to talk about it on the internet.
Step 2, flex.
Yeah. Check it out. I can go 6 miles if I put it in ludicrous mode and floor it.
Where can I virtue signal that I care about the environment, but I don't care about kids? Who also cares about the environment? Don't give a fuck about them kids.
Oh, it's so mean.
That's the Tesla driver, though.
Yeah. That's anyone who's operating an electric car of any kind. I can afford this $40,000 car that relies on child labor.
Yeah.
And even there is a burgeoning used electric car market, but there's no. The jury's still out on how long those batteries will actually last.
And there's no way an organization using child labor is using safe and environmentally friendly mining methods either. That was one of the big problems with illegal mining. Is they just don't give a fuck about. Okay, let's say there is $1 trillion of accessible resources in Afghanistan. If that was the case, you'd have so much illegal mining there going on that it would destroy it. It wouldn't still be there. It would have been gone a long time ago. It's just too inaccessible, which gets back to the original point of the way our media is framing them as if they're just wasting $1 trillion of resources that America could really use, and the planet, the rest of the entire species.
That's the same mindset that thinks that the post office is losing money, even though it's a service.
Hate socialism. It's the same motherfuckers that hate socialism.
But they don't think that the military is losing $750 billion a year. Can't have it both ways, though, right? Or they want to have it both ways.
I mean, it's not losing money
It's
to them
it
if they
costs
can
money.
get that $1 trillion. It's an investment.
Yeah, well,
Like they see it. Oh, they know they're reading between the lines. Like, oh, if we get that military there, then we can get that $1 trillion eventually. But we just gotta get rid of their government or plant one of our puppets. I don't know. It doesn't matter as long as we get the oil and the lithium suppositories. All they care about is the lithium suppositories.
they need the lithium suppositories and the nickel suppositories.
Because then that's where they make it seem like that shit is just sitting there waiting for the American soldiers come in with their freedom and patriotism to grab it.
Well, North Korea is also a giant repository of lithium, cobalt, and nickel, and I'm pretty sure that Iran is also a giant repository of those elements too. I think there's probably a connection.
But, this is where it's like the best thing that happened was everybody stopped using their vehicles. And then the weather started to clear up and like there was noticeable impact on the environment. And then everybody just went right back to their same dumbass behaviors. Yeah. So that's where I'm looking at it. I don't know if we have a population that's like capable of change without being forced to change for some reason. It's like everybody and their mom will resist change as a fucking.
It's a reflex.
Alan Pressman, I think, and fucking what's his name? The War of Art, or Stephen. What's his name? Stephen Pressfield. I don't know if you've ever read The War of Art, but he basically frames. It's very profound in the way that he's like framing resistance, whether it's like in the form of like electricity, in the way that it dampens to the way people resist change. It's something that we encounter so much in our own lives and in the world that it's like when you realize that the resistance is the thing that you're coming up against, it's a lot easier to get over it, even though it's not easy to get over the resistance. Like the issue is people aren't even aware that they're resisting or that they are encountering resistance. And then it's something that when you know that the resistance is going to be perpetual and it's going to take different forms, then it's a lot easier to then be like, oh, that's the resistance rearing its ugly head yet again. And the way that he presents it is artistic, but his whole thing was born of writer's block and then trying to articulate writer's block in the form of now resistance. It made it easier to then articulate how to get over that writer's block. So I found that as an interesting, it's like always something good to go back to ever so often. And I think like
I think that applies to like everything.
Oh, for sure. And that's where he was able to then apply it across everything. And the whole thing is like an exploration of how resistance appears in like all facets of life. And like you can tell when he first starts off, the way he's writing, it's like he you can tell he was aware that he had captured lightning in a bottle, and then he just ran with it, which I think was further proof to his exercise as to why he continued and made a whole book out of it. It seems
Like, I think it's nice that that we can romanticize old techniques and old paradigm, but I think that it's always important that we embrace technology or new developments. So we have to understand why these things develop, and we have to let them develop. I think otherwise we end up with like stunted development. We would end up with music that never finished like maturing into what it should become, or what it does become, I guess. We wouldn't have stories that resolved. We would have countless iterations of stories that don't resolve. I think we already have that, though. You know, people didn't want to wear condoms for a long time, and then AIDS happened, and people started changing their minds. But there's still, as you've pointed out, still people who are raw dogging strangers in bathrooms. And I wonder if those are the same people who just refuse to wear a mask.
well, it's crazy. I see there's all these conservative talk show hosts dying now.
God, man.
And I'm laughing at all of them.
Well, some of them on their deathbeds are like, they're telling their audience to go get vaccinated, and it's like, man, I wonder how this is just a little too late.
Yeah. Yep.
I wonder if those audiences even believe it when their beloved talk show host is on their deathbed and says, "Oh, I was wrong." Or I wonder?
Probably not.
I bet
Probably not at that point.
I bet it all feeds into the whole government conspiracy.
Yeah, they probably think that they're just faking their deaths, and just the government paid them off to do it. Now they're just crisis actors.
Crisis actors. I wonder. I didn't realize that actors could be paid in like commodities or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe there is like a crisis actors guild. How could something like that even exist without people finding out about it, though? That's like one of those, like, it just borders on like Illuminati levels of, yeah, sure. Like how far does one have to suspend disbelief? I guess you don't have to suspend disbelief if like you believe anything, right?
Right. Then there was never any disbelief, right?
Yeah. There isn't.
There has to be disbelief for it to be suspended.
Wow, that's like the great irony of the conspiracy theorist. They don't believe what the government says, which is the disbelief, but then they don't even suspend that because they jump to something even more unrealistic. I'm not even sure what the grand conspiracy is anymore. It's gotten so like fractured. And because it's not just lizard people now it's like child molesting lizard people.
Yeah.
And somehow they can keep this secret, and that's part of why they killed Epstein, right? But they didn't kill his girlfriend, who was the real madame of the whole operation, apparently. None of this stuff actually makes sense, and that's why it's so hard for me to even compartmentalize or keep track of it. And it's not like an invading, occupying force or a military act, which is when televised, like, oh shit, they're blowing shit up. It's all like secret and hush hush, and nobody can prove anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe in the days before the internet, that kind of organization could have existed. Maybe. But not anymore. There are cameras everywhere. Apparently China can like tap into all of our electronics and watch everything we're doing.
Well, that's so funny that conversation's all but disappeared in that.
People just accept it now.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what, like, if they must be like, oh, I guess if our U.S. government can hear us, it don't matter if China can too. So I don't know what the thought is behind that, but that's like nobody talks about that shit anymore. As far as like, maybe I just don't have any super conspiracy theorists even in my feed or even remotely anywhere near me, which is fine. That'd be amazing if those people like are still out en masse and I just don't see them.
I mean, I
thought that was something it seems like it disappeared.
I still know a few people who exhibit conspiratorial thinking, and but you know, nobody ever really wants to divulge on the internet, because once you commit that shit to text, everyone will know. And like the internet never forgets, and all the other adages. I think that stuff really only exists in like back rooms, because I've never been able to. I don't think I've actually. I mean, I've read like propaganda literature, but you know, you read that stuff and Poe's law kicks in and say, oh, obviously these people are nuts. Well, maybe I just think that and other people don't. Yeah, it's reasonable that I would see something and think, yeah, this person's nuts. And I can see how somebody else might not. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm looking at a significant portion of America where I don't want to call it psychosis, because I feel like that would be dismissive of people who actually have psychosis, but there seems to have been some media-induced mass psychosis that has hit a large portion of the country. And you're seeing it with these people who they're homicidal and suicidal when they don't want to get vaccinated or mask up.
They're pathological. It's an internet pathology.
Definitely pathological. But I mean,
but it translates into real world behavior.
Exactly, and there are repercussions that then affect other people, because some of them die, and then some of them eventually cause the death of others. So that's where I'm saying there's something that is there's like a deep disconnect between them and greater society, because they are willing to sacrifice themselves, and by proxy they are willing to put many others at risk. Like,
so at this point, like, I think it's still okay for a very limited portion of our population to remain unvaccinated, and these are people who are undergoing like cancer treatments, and or people who have have their genetics profiled and know that they're going to have complications, and children who are not FDA approved, but the FDA approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. So I think any of the FDA approval people sorry, I phrased that poorly. Any of the people who had reservations because it wasn't FDA approved, that excuse no longer exists. And I think that anyone who said that before and shifts to the, oh, well, I don't trust the FDA, they're just full of shit at that point, and they can just join the idiot class. By idiot class, I mean the idiots who just keep coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse, refuse to accept the reality of the situation, or even make an attempt to understand the information.
We don't have to actually accept them into public space.
I know.
Like there are limits and rules of operation within public space. I can't just go walk around naked in public. I'll get arrested.
I bet you could do it for like 5 minutes.
Maybe 5 minutes.
I think you could do it for maybe 4.
As long as nobody's like upset for those first 5 minutes. As soon as somebody gets upset, then they call the cops, or a cop happens to drive by, then I'm going to fucking jail.
Yeah.
Like that's the way it is. And it's like, yeah, there's limits on public space. Everyone, if I'm within city limits, I can't go just set up a target and start shooting. I can't do that within city limits. There's limits on. I can't even do that with a bow, an arrow. I have to make sure there's certain things that I have to make sure, like, a residence can't be in the direction of your shot within 500 feet behind the backdrop or some. There's like all these things that if you get caught breaking those rules, you're going to either get a fine or you're going to go to jail for shooting a bow and arrow. Even if you don't hit anybody or anything, if somebody finds out that you're breaking the list of rules in public space or even on your own property at a certain point, it's like, there's certain things that you can't do on your own property. Like you can't just murder somebody on your own property because it's not in the public space. So there's people know there's limits. They know inherently and deep down that they have limitations on their quote unquote freedoms. But they want to act like this one special thing. I can't breathe.
United said that all employees are going to be vaccinated, or they're going to be looking for new jobs. And Delta said that if their employees are not vaccinated, they're going to be paying an extra $200 a month in their insurance premiums, because it costs Delta $50,000 per COVID case for their employees. That's a lot. Holy shit. That's like more than the average that most people end up getting charged for their, week-long stay in the hospital. Like $20,000 is the normal rolling average. What kind of COVID situation is happening to flight attendants on Delta's airlines that cost $50,000? I mean, that makes me wonder. Is being in a pressurized air capsule with a bunch of other people, like, does that actually make it worse?
I'm sure it does.
I'm sure it does. Like 100%. I have no doubts that it makes it worse, because they have to recycle that air. They're not just like siphoning new air in. It's a pressurized chamber. I bet the next 737 is going to have some kind of UV air recirculation system to clean the air as it exchanges from the cabin, from within the cabin. Mm-hmm. It'll be a completely like independent system, so that when the flight control systems go haywire, it doesn't just start spewing out ozone or something dumb.
Speaking of planes and flights, did you see the video of that guy losing his shit at the airport?
Ooh, no, but I want to see it now.
So this dumbass starts flipping out. You calls somebody N-word at least once on camera. He's like having a hissy fit, flipping out. No cops
in Miami
to be seen. Yeah, like it's like the cops were nowhere even remotely responding. Eventually, you find out then once this dude does, because he got denied his flight. They wouldn't let him on his flight because obviously he's not fit to go. He's not fit to be in public, let alone go on a plane and get in an enclosed tube with a bunch of other strangers and be trusted. This is clearly not someone to be trusted. But these motherfucking cops are like, oh, this is a veteran who was under distress. Well, motherfucker, he's lashing out at other citizens. You got to protect these other citizens too. And
he acted like he's going to strike someone.
Oh yeah, he tried, and he just tripped over his own feet, which is where I'm like, if this is the best and brightest we got for our military, fuck. I'm kind of glad on the one hand that that's the best, but fuck.
Oh, he can't even pick up the fucking
it just gets
separator.
Worse. It just gets worse and worse. Like, he is not a specimen, like a physical specimen to behold. He's not coordinated. He's not. I mean, he's loud, but you can see at the end of the day, this dude's like not really threatening, and you can see why he probably needs a gun to feel like a badass. Where I'm like, oh my god, this is the person that we get signing up to then go serve and protect, and they end up just trying to find somewhere to lash out and be bullies, because that's ultimately that's all this dude is. He's just a big, little bully, little piece of shit bully that now we got cops protecting him because he's a veteran having a stress attack. Oh, now you guys are concerned about veterans' mental health because this dude that you guys didn't fucking stop from lashing out at American citizens that he's supposed to be fucking serving and protecting can't keep his shit together, and he was having a panic attack. Fuck out of here, man, with their it's like
he insulted an airport or an airline employee. Like, that's supposed to get people banned from flying on the airline.
And the whole thing originated, apparently he walked into the women's restroom because he was having an argument with his girlfriend and couldn't fucking stop harassing her. So yeah, we know this dude's an abusive piece of shit already.
Yep.
Because he's not afraid to fucking yell at his girlfriend in public. That's fucking crazy. That aspect of the story alone. There's so many red flags about this story. I'm like, oh yeah, this dude's an abusive piece of shit. The cops are protecting him because they're probably domestic abusers too. And they know, oh, he's probably just upset because his girlfriend did that and he can't keep himself under control. And they blame the girl for this dude not being able to fucking keep his shit under control because his mom told him he was special his whole fucking life. Is what it comes down to. And he was never special at anything. He was never actually special. So our military took him. Not he's probably in the Army. They didn't say it. They just said, when they say U.S. military, that usually means they're fucking in the Army, because everybody knows the Army is a fucking joke, because they'll take anybody. They'll take this dude tripping over his own fucking feet, picking up some shit that he can't swing, looking like a dumbass, kicking a fucking wet floor sign. Yeah, fuck that dude.
The Marines have a higher aptitude requirement, minimum aptitude requirement than the Army does.
Oh yeah, you don't see Marines doing shit like this.
The Coast Guard actually has the highest aptitude requirements.
You might see a Marine like saying some right-wing shit, some like shit that you don't agree with, and you're gonna see some Marines that you do agree with, but you're not gonna see a Marine looking like that, is what it comes down to. Like, Marines have too many tests, and if you have a drunk Marine, they're not gonna be that uncoordinated because they have a higher aptitude to become a Marine, and they have higher rules for engagement in general, which is where that's where you'll hear Marines talking like the right wing. Obviously, there's a wide range of viewpoints, and you'll hear right wing Marines talking mad crazy shit where you're like, this person sounds crazy, but that person is not out in the street getting in altercations most of the time. And it's like, there's a reason, like, you don't see it, because they just have a higher standard. They're not gonna they're gonna disown somebody who's gonna be out in public acting a fucking ass one way or another, because it's not gonna look good on them, and they have a higher standard of representation than the rest of the military. Because I think there is a sense of pride because they do go farther back. But yeah, and it also, anybody can't be a Marine. It's like the 1% of, you know, the 1%. Like, it's easier probably to become an NFL football player or an NBA player or an NHL player than it is to become an actual Marine, in the sense of like so many people try and like dedicate their entire lives to it and don't pass. Like, it's just, you don't hear about that shit because there's no real public. There's not a.
Well, they have other jobs
Marine
for them within the
combine.
military.
What's up?
They have other jobs for them in the military.
Oh, for sure. And but at the same time, that process isn't public in the same way that like the NFL combine and like college football are in everybody's face. So we see somebody developing through their career, whereas like that dude who wanted to be a Marine from the time he was, 7 years old and dedicated his life to that, and then went to the fucking test and failed. We never hear about that dude in the public, but there's plenty of that guy that exists, in the sense of like, then everybody knows somebody that went to their high school that was trying to play NFL or in an NBA and never got there. Everybody knows that person, but we don't know the Marine, because that shit is like not a public journey. And that's what I'm saying. Is like, we all probably know that person, but we don't know who they are. Whereas everybody in their minds can point at a person that they went to high school with and they were like, oh yeah, this person was trying to get to NBA or NFL and definitely didn't get there. And this is like, gotta be a life failure for them because that's what their life goals were. And that's the difference between having a massive lifetime public failure and like a personal private failure, in the sense of, dedicating your life to become a Marine and then not becoming one. It sucks, but nobody knew that it's that big of a failure. I'm sure that person that did that was like broken for a day, but they didn't have people like talking about them at school get-together. It's like, did you hear about so-and-so? Now they're like selling cars. Oh, what happened? They were so fast in high school. They were really good at football. Yeah,
They got hit by a giant-ass linebacker.
Yeah.
And broke their hip. Well, that's not funny. That actually sucks. But
No.
I went to high school with a guy that played football and ended up becoming the quarterback for the Bears and went to a Super Bowl. And good for him, I don't know what he's doing now.
Some of them make it, know. Some of them make it for sure. Where I know there was like a couple of people from Indianapolis high schools that went on to NFL and NBA, and some of them I think even won Super Bowls on their teams, if I'm not mistaken.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I'm like, this is not to say that everyone's a failure, but it's more so when you put your life's goals in the public like that at such an early age, that many young sports players in this country do, then everybody knows if you failed because you're not in that thing. Whereas like, okay, there's a few people from my high school who like went on to become successful in other venues that nobody necessarily knew. Like, one is like a successful stand-up comedian and has been on like the Daily Show plenty of times. And it's like, there's like other people who went on to do acting in TV shows, I think, where it's like they were doing theater in high school, but there's not a huge expectation. Like, it's almost like theater is this frivolous thing you do because you're not good at sports. So then you're like, oh, I'll just go do theater or something in people's minds. So I don't think that they saw it as like this person's trying to become an actor or actress. So like if they didn't become an act, like anybody who got into theater in high school and didn't become an actress or an actor is not a failure in people's minds. But the people who went into sports and didn't become professionals are failures. And I think there's a huge difference in the way that they perceive that, in that there's still a hierarchy of what society thinks is like more difficult. And I think people still think that sports are more difficult than acting. And then being the head of a corporation is more difficult than everything, apparently. And that's where like there are these hierarchies in people's minds with how they it's like, oh, if you want to become an actor and actress, like, oh, good luck. It's like just a hobby or something. If you make some money, good. But if you don't become professional, it's no big deal. You didn't actually become a failure at life. Like that's if you try to become an actor and actress and don't get a TV show role or don't get a movie, nobody's gonna think you're a failure. That shit's wild to me.
Well, let's see. Highest paid. Is either celebrities or athletes, it looks like. Oh, yeah. Floyd Mayweather, $285 million. This is from 2018. Let's see. Highest paid celebrity, Cristiano Ronaldo.
He's a soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
So highest paid celebrities or athletes then is what it sounds like.
Yep.
So yeah, that hierarchy holds.
Yep. Well, George Clooney made $239 million in 2018, which is right up there with Floyd Mayweather money. That's more than the $180 million that Connor made.
But how much of that was from acting and how much of it was from businesses? Because that's what I'm like.
Oh,
George
yeah, that's
Clooney,
true. He's got it.
2018.
He's a diverse dude.
Businesses, yeah. The same thing with Floyd Mayweather, though. I mean, but that's where he made, I think, that amount of money from boxing.
Nope. Kylie Jenner.
But she's not an actress.
Oh, but she's a celebrity.
Right. Her thing was from
cosmetics.
Nail polish, yeah. Cosmetics.
She made $590
She didn't make money
though.
From being a celebrity. She made money from a product. That's
Kanye made $170 million.
That's kind of misleading.
Yeah, that's Kanye.
Well, I'm saying Kylie Jenner didn't get paid $500 million for being a celebrity in the same way that Floyd Mayweather got paid $300 million for boxing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, I think because in that I think he's then made like $500 million with his other businesses, but that's not from boxing.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, yeah, the way that a person makes the money, I think, is relevant to this conversation in that, like, Robert Downey Jr. making $200 million for acting is different than The Rock making $200 million from selling tequila. Because, like, The Rock has a successful tequila company where he's making shitload of money, but he's not acting. It obviously is related to him acting, but those are, making it seem like the money he's making from selling tequila is from his acting, I think would be disingenuous.
He just likes tequila, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's okay.
Exactly. Which is, and this is where, I'm not trying to diminish when people go outside of their original field and make money outside of that. I'm not trying to diminish that at all. It's more so, I think it's disingenuous. Like, Floyd Mayweather owns a strip club. Any money he makes from that, it's like disingenuous to make it seem like he got that from boxing. Like, no, he owns a strip club. That's just a different source of income altogether.
Wait. I'm trying to figure out a way that boxing and women taking their clothes off in a completely different venue can coexist. I got nothing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wait, no. I got a women's boxing gym. But that's a different kind of taking their clothes off.
Right.
That's actually the opposite kind of place where you want to be like shaking dollars at the ladies. They'll probably kick your ass.
Yeah. Which I think. Okay, so then there's also this Jake Paul versus Tyrone Woodley fight happening today, which Mayweather was originally part of, but he seems to have distanced himself from for whatever reason. I don't know whether he don't have time or saw something. He's like, I don't want to have much part of this. But I think it's funny that we've gotten to this point where I don't know. Can we call Jake Paul a celebrity? I guess he's like a C-list celebrity or
E-list.
E-list. Where it's like, I didn't even know who this dude was because I'm not a kid and I didn't learn of him from his original career or whatever. So I only learned of him where he's coming in challenging people to fight.
What is he like? Some like Mouseketeer that wants to beat people up now?
Not even. So I looked into what, because he kept being like, I'm a Disney kid and all this other stuff. I'm like,
wait, how can you be a Disney kid but not be Mouseketeer?
This is how. So they basically created a Disney version of Jackass, and he was one of the people on there. I haven't obviously gone back and watched any of the episodes.
Disney's version of Jackass.
That's as far as I could tell from the Wikipedia entry. That's about as much time as I was going to put.
I mean, that's like getting in a foam padded shopping cart, going down a inflatable ramp into a ball pit, right? I
mean, but I don't think
isn't that like Nickelodeon's Double Dare?
I think it was like more of the stuff where they would do like the actual shopping cart, but not cuss. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I haven't actually watched it, so I don't know what type of stunts and skits they were doing. But the way they made it sound is like, it sounds like Disney's version of Jackass, probably with no cussing. Like maybe they cussed it and bleeped it out. Who knows? But that's ultimately what he was doing for Disney. So it wasn't like he was on the Mouseketeers. It wasn't like he was on a TV show where he's acting. When he says he was a Disney kid, he's using that in the furthest stretch of the word. Like he was a Disney affiliate. Like he worked for Disney, but he's not.
He's Disney adjacent
in the same way as Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake. Jason Timberlake.
Jason Timberlake's the Disney Mexico version, right?
Or Kristen Aguilera. They're like real Disney kids in the sense of, if you weren't a Mouseketeer or you weren't on a TV show that was over dramatized, it's a real stretch to be like, I was a Disney kid. So that's kind of where I'm not a Jake Paul fan.
I don't think
him and his brother are both pieces of shit, because then they were the ones that videotaped the Suicide Forest body and shit. So they're they're not good people.
Yeah, man. Mouseketeers and Disney kids are supposed to be wholesome.
I mean, when they at first, but then they all tend to fall off some sort of moral cliff, it seems like. What I'm getting at is, all that said, the way the MMA community acts like this guy doesn't have a chance in this fight is super cultish. It's been really weird to see MMA people like just completely have their heads up their asses in general, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to, like, you remember why you don't hitch your wagon to any horse, and that's where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not an MMA person, because these people are like cultish in their own way. Like, you thought that they were unbiased because they're like, oh, I'm not going to stick with any martial art. But then you realize like, oh, a lot of them are right wing libertarians, and they don't stick with any art because they don't want any rules. And it's like, you get disappointed learning these things about the groups that you have been surrounded by. So that's where I'm like, seeing all these people just completely dismiss Jake Paul's chances at beating Tyrone Woodley because he's a shitty human being is super weird. Like, I can acknowledge,
I'm pretty sure
like,
the shitty human being factor improves somebody's chance at defeating somebody else.
It doesn't. That's the problem with like the way people are acting. Like, because Tyrone Woodley
isn't even
is
shitty
just
person,
not as shitty a person. Like, he's not a great, like, Tyrone's not a horrible person. He's not done anything terrible. He's not a great human being either. Like, I'm not saying like there's been some questionable things Tyrone's done, like go work for TMZ, where I'm like, that's weird. So that's when I'm looking at Tyrone Woodley like, this dude's not he's not 100% representing anything pure. Like, he said he's out for himself. So like, why people are so quick to like hitch their wagon to his horse is like super weird to me, where I'm like, dude, Tyrone, like, would Tyrone ride for your mom the way you're riding for his mom? That's weird. I don't expect him to ride for my mom the way everybody's riding for his mom. Like, not to say that you shouldn't be defending people's moms, but I wouldn't also take, if I'm about to fight somebody, I'm not calling Cynthia up and be like, hey mom, you want to come hang out at this fight and hype me up and see me beat somebody's ass? You want to see me engage in combat? You want to see me hit somebody in the face, mom? That's not, like, even if my mom was supportive of me being in combat sports, that's not somebody I want. Like, it's too easy to then make her a target because I put her in like the line of fire. That would be on me if, like, I'm going to a football game, you know, like my mom's in the crowd, this dude's talking shit about my mom, she's right there. Then I get fucking super crazy because not only is he talking shit about my mom, she's like right there reminding me of this person he's talking shit about. It's a lot easier when somebody's talking shit about your mom to like disconnect yourself from the reaction if she's not right there. But if she's right there, that biological urge be like, oh, are you actually threatening my mom who's right over there? That shit could have been avoided by not having your mom around. So on the other hand, where I'm like, yeah, it's not cool to be going after people's moms, don't bring your fucking mom to a combat. Like, straight up, if you're going to a combat, even though it's a combat sport, don't bring your fucking mom, bro. What are you doing? Leave mom at home. If you want, fucking have mom zoom in. If you really want her to experience that shit, bringing your mom to a fucking combat sporting event, that shit is just not good idea. Not good idea. Period. I'm calling L's on both sides. Tyrone took an L. Fucking Paul took an L. Nobody should talk shit to Mama Woodley. Mama Woodley should have been her ass at home or at the hotel or something.
Maybe like, they can knock each other out at the same time.
Not to say that she shouldn't be able to support her son. There's a time and a place for bringing your mom to shit. Combat sporting events are not one. The only reason Floyd Mayweather's dad is there is because was because he was a fucking boxer who also had like advice as to be in the corner. Like, I don't know if his mom is still alive. I'm assuming she's like, if she's alive, I'm assuming she was at least alive during part of it. She never was in the corner, as far as I know. Like, Floyd Mayweather ain't bringing his fucking mom to the goddamn corner. Like, bro, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to imagine Floyd's mom like jumping into the ring with a stool and like spraying him down some water and like slapping him and telling him to get his shit together.
Right. Floyd, you better go get me a switch. If you don't go out in that round and do better, you go get me a Switch. That's what I'm like, bro. That's what happens when you bring your mom to a fucking fight. Like,
you make the whole family look bad. Get your shit together and kick his ass, and beat his ass. Maybe the world needs that. Maybe the world needs like its mom to step in and grab him by the ear and be like, "What the hell are you doing?" I don't know. The last few times that I've been out in public, my experience has generally been everyone's calm. There is only a few people that don't wear masks right now, and I don't go out that much, so my observations are very limited. In general, people are wearing masks. I haven't seen any outbursts. I haven't seen any crazy people like standing there just like breathing all over the vegetables or anything like that. I think the problem is that we've got the internet, and so one crazy person they get the spotlight, and so it's easier for the idiots to find each other because now they see that this behavior is happening somewhere else, and so they can make it known. It's easier to find the congregation of jackasses when they can just post a video and find each other that way.
Study just came out saying that it was not the internet making people be more dickish, but just dicks getting a bigger platform that was what was happening. And behavior is largely consistent offline and online between people. So if somebody's nice offline, they're probably going to be nice online.
Yeah.
Somebody's a dick online, they're probably a dick in real life. They're probably that person yelling at the server, not tipping, fucking, there's so many things where you see poor behavior, like that dude at the fucking air.
Well, the hecklers are always the loudest. They're always the first ones to complain. And so it's easy to think that a lot of people are like that. But I think the vast majority of people are either quiet because they don't know what to do, and they just hope it'll be over soon. I think that's really what's going on. A lot of people they're just trying not to stir anything up, and we're just seeing all of the loudmouth schnooks who won't shut up about it because they're right. But for every one of those people, there's probably, what's our national average vaccination rate? Are we up to like 50% yet? Because I think that kind of, that says quite a bit. That means that if we're at 60%, then that's like for every 2 people that aren't vaccinated, there are 3 that are. That's okay. We can do that. It'd be nice if we could get those numbers a little bit better, like less than 1 person not vaccinated to, more than 4 people, but less than 5.
Yeah, so I don't know.
There's still time though, this thing's gonna last till 2023.
Yeah, right.
So
if we're lucky, the way people are acting, it might be 2030 before this shit goes away.
Man,
if it ever goes away.
With the idiots taking ivermectin and shitting themselves in public, you'd think that they'd start to get the hint that they have bad sources of information. I mean, what kind of moron thinks it's a good idea to consume a horse-sized dose of horse fucking dewormer? I don't even know.
Looks like a jackass. Then it takes ivermectin like a jackass. Right? Yeah. Jackass-sized ivermectin doses.
Oh.
Because apparently these idiots also didn't realize that when they're getting the horse prescription, they didn't scale it down, so they're taking like 15 grams for a person.
How much is a horse
when that's
weigh?
like a horse dose? And that's what's causing the blindness.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
obviously they're not supposed to be taking it at all, but it's because then they're taking horse.
Small adult horses weigh 840 pounds, but on the heavy end, they come up at 2,200 pounds. So
Yeah.
that's like a 4 to 10 times modifier in dosage.
Yeah, from what I can tell, because then you'll see people trying to code their language for it online, where they're like, if I had a 170-pound horse, I'd only take zero point 0.1 grams of ivermectin, as if they're being sly or some shit, where they're trying to warn other people not to take the horse doses, but trying to like be sly about it. This is I I'm enjoying this too much. I'm living watching all these other people
Shit themselves
Just-
in public.
go off a cliff like a bunch of lemmings, because it's like these people think of themselves as the best and the brightest and the most fit for surviving a fucking apocalypse, and they're like willingly taking horse parasite removers, where I'm like, this is like better than any reality TV show. If you know what's happening, just finding like, I get so much enjoyment from it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because these people are horrible human beings. So like watching them do this shit to themselves, it's fucking Schadenfreude. Like straight up. I'm not gonna pretend I'm not enjoying it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I know I'm better than that. No, I'm laughing at all of them every time I read a new story about some fucking COVID freedom person dying from COVID. Oh yeah, I fucking laugh. Hell yeah, I laugh. I don't care. Like, they didn't care about their own life. So if somebody's gonna hold a fucking freedom rally and then die from COVID instead of just taking a fucking vaccine and wearing a mask, guess what? I'm fucking laughing at your dead ass. That's what happens. I'm still alive. I'm still laughing. That's how vaccines work. That's how vaccines and masks work. My lungs still work. I can fill them up with air. I can laugh at that dead motherfucker because I didn't organize some fucking rally that the government's trying to take away our freedoms by giving us this vaccine. Nah, I'm like, you know what? I'm looking at Tuskegee. I'm looking at the cops. I'm looking at the racism. I'm looking at the institutional hate for black people. And then I'm looking at this vaccine. I'm like, you know what? I'm taking this motherfucking vaccine because I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm still alive. And that's why I'm laughing at Caleb Wallace, or whatever the fuck his name is. Because he could have been here laughing. He could have been here laughing. But his dumbass is like, no, my freedoms. My fucking freedoms, man. My freedom. Freedom. Yep. All the way to the grave. That freedom 6 feet deep shit. So fuck that guy. Fuck him.
The issue, of course, is that people who have legitimate reasons to go to a hospital might be in one of these southern regions that are having, you know, maximum occupancy issues. Apparently there was a water shortage at one point because they had to draw oxygen from the water. Where's the oxygen shortage?
I feel like if somebody is of the age where they can get vaccinated and they don't, and they contract COVID, they should have, like,
Tampa Bay
they
Water
should have waived
changes
their
water
right to go to the hospital.
There was a liquid oxygen shortage in Tampa. Like, holy shit.
Because I understand that there are some people, like the immunocompromised and people with like terminal diseases, they can't take it. That's a whole different. Those are people that can't
like,
take it. But somebody who's of the demographic that they can
and doesn't,
and they don't. Well, that should be waiving the right to go to the hospital at that point. Like, just straight up, like, the hospitals are full. You don't want to take the vaccine. You're not under 12. You're not immunocompromised. Sorry, you can't go to the hospital if you catch COVID. Oh, if you break your leg not doing the milk crate challenge, yeah, you can still go to the hospital if they have a spot. You can get a waiting spot. But if you get COVID, sorry. I'm at that point. Like, I'm at that point because I'm like, if I die, I have it on my license where somebody can take my organs that are still intact. if I can make that contract with the state, all these motherfuckers who are refusing the vaccine, they should be able to then make that. You wanna say you're not taking the vaccine? Well, put your fucking money and your life where your mouth is, and say you're not gonna go to the hospital when you catch it, and start praying for your fucking mom.
Well, fortunately, primary care physicians can refuse to treat unvaccinated patients.
Good.
And there's a doctor in Alabama who started refusing unvaccinated patients.
Fuck them.
If they don't want to listen to the doctor, then they should just go get their information about whatever's going on from the internet, like they did before, right?
I'm the rational one here. I refuse to make it seem like I'm the irrational one for siding with the doctors who refuse to treat people who are unvaccinated who qualify for vaccines.
Holy shit. So what you just communicated was that there are some unvaccinated people out there who are gaslighting vaccinated people into feeling irrational. And I think that's probably happening more often than not.
Oh yeah.
And those people suck.
Yep. Fuck those people. Nope. And that's where I'm like, this whole making it about freedom, because then they tried to come out and make Arnold slander Arnold for what he said about screw your freedoms. It's like the way he said it, it makes fucking perfect sense. Like if you're trying to say, my freedom not to wear a mask is like better, or my freedom not to get vaccinated is more important than the need to protect elderly people and protect children and protect people who can't get vaccinated, the immunocompromised. Fuck it. Screw your freedoms. Screw your freedom. Just like Arnold would say. And that's where I'm like, looking at these people, like, these are the same motherfuckers that send other people's kids to go fight for their freedoms in other people's backyards when they're really trying to just get that $1 trillion lithium suppository.
Oh man, they want a self-driving lithium suppository.
Oh man,
they want their lithium suppository with the latest AI.
On Mars.
On Mars. Brought to you by Tesla. Oxygen brought to you by Tesla with our advanced AIs. AIR, advanced intelligence, artificial intelligence robotics, Air. Tesla Air. Hey, we just gave you an idea, Elon. Give us some money.
Ellen. Yeah, I am of the mind that we should like refer to him as that electric car guy, or Ellen, or
that electric car guy.
That one dude who put the car in space.
Space car man.
Space car guy.
Yeah.
But we should not refer to him ever as his name accurately anymore. Rich people hate nothing more than for people not to like either refer to them accurately or to act like they don't know who they are.
Oh,
and that's
yeah,
I'm like,
Kyle's dad.
Kyle's dad. Oh man. That guy that Grimes is dating.
That guy that Grimes is dating.
Oh man, I feel like that guy that Grimes is dating is like the most reductive and like the most like condescending one that, yeah.
I don't know, that bozo who wants to build the moon base is pretty good too.
Isn't that other dude though that like makes his workers piss in bottles?
Yeah.
But he's not that one guy that named his company after like virgins, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that guy's like British or something.
Yeah. He's like, he's a knight or some shit, right? He like carries swords and walks around in armor. You make him like, oh wait, they don't do that?
Wait,
that's not what sir means.
Dude, British knights still carry a sword.
So you mean he can't like parry with a sword? He's not a good fencer. So
What do knights carry? Nope, those are all medieval.
I want to see Elton John's armor.
Ooh.
We'll respect Sir Elton John and actually use his name, because he's not one of those other guys that's trying to like do some shit off planet for no reason. Until Elton John puts a vehicle in low Earth orbit, we'll still use his name for no reason. Because it's like, yeah, if you can put a vehicle of some sort into low Earth orbit for a reason, okay, maybe I'll use your name again. But just sending cars into space and you're like, oh yeah, this is supposed to go to Mars, but it's going to go wildly off course. We're going to act like that was part of the job. Like, I meant to do that. No. Sorry, Ellen.
So I did just find a picture of Elton John's armor, and I'm trying to get it up on the video
Elton John's
feed.
armor.
I put it in the Discord.
Oh, man.
Like,
that, yeah, I feel like
Elton John's armor is fabulous. It's got a big purple flower or feathered ruffly thing around his neck, and it's green.
it's a boa.
Yeah, he's got a big purple boa. He's got chainmail and plate mail. His horse has a purple shroud thing. He's smiling, like he looks like he knows what he's doing.
Sir Elton John enjoys jousting.
Why is that not surprising?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, man. It's like, who knows? Maybe he's got some secrets of the round table.
You know, that guy's been around for a long time. I think he knows a few things.
Which is why I'm going to keep pronouncing his name correctly.
Yeah.
And not referring to him as that piano guy.
No, the piano man is Billy Joel, isn't it?
You know? Yeah. But he's not the guy that started the fire.
That's true. I'm pretty sure that was Little Richard.
Oh man.
No. It was Jerry Lee Lewis with his great balls of fire. Oh god, that guy was dirty. Whew, fucking Jerry Lewis. Yep, there's nothing really funny to say once Jerry Lewis gets brought into shit. That guy is a fucking pederass.
Yeah.
So
that's like
on that note.
On that note.
Yeah, we love you all. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
There's nowhere to go with that.
Exceptional Radio.
Exceptional Randos Show is produced live in Sunroom Studios Base Capsule and in partnership with KLST 103.5, RadioCallisti.org. Remember to catch our Exceptional Randos live stream on YouTube every Sunday between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a story, idea, or question that you would like to share, we want to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Well, that was random. Exceptional Radio.